All right, YouTube, we are live. I tried to go live a few minutes ago. We got cut off, but I am back. So, again, for all those catching this on the rewind, you might want to fast forward a couple minutes. We're going to get set up here. We're going to be talking CGC books that I'm sending off to be submitted and graded. So let's let this roll in for the next couple of minutes. Make sure I am up and running good this time, because not sure what happened there before. All right, so now just to give a rundown, I did a video yesterday. There's Isaac's back. Did a video yesterday morning. We were talking about which book should I send off to CGC, and I got to repeat this again for those that watched the first 5 minutes before we got cut out. Basically, it was between two tiers, because I wasn't doing both tiers because you get charged with double shipping. Pre-1975, post-1975. So I had some nice Silver Age stuff. And I even have my Fantastic 449, which I did realize was going to be its own tier itself. So if I decided to go with all Silver Age stuff, I still would have had to pay double shipping just because the FF49 is in a higher value tier. So unfortunately, FF49 is not going right now. That's just going to have to wait. Totally fine with that. Now, what I did today was I've minimized my options. I did pick a tier. Excuse me, grab some water here. I picked a tier, but now it's minimizing the books out of that tier lot, okay? What I did too was I put together a comprehensive spreadsheet to look and get to be able to gauge all of the options that I have and see which ones should be the ones to go. So I'm picking 8 books. There's going to be 8 books that I'm sending out, and you guys are going to continue to help me pick which ones I should send off, and hopefully I can get these sent off by next week. Turnaround time right now is pretty decent on the website. It says 20 business days. So with that being said, I will let you guys know I did pick a tier. Drum roll, brrr, my tier, and I got the stack right here, is post 1975. So yeah, so unfortunately, my Silver Age stuff is gonna have to wait. I had a lot of nice Amazing Spider-Man stuff in there. Early second and third appearance of Green Goblin, first John Romita Sr., iconic Green Goblin cover, the drug issue with Green Goblin, got the Gwen Stacy on the cover, 122. They're gonna have to wait another time. I don't know. I'm worried about the grades that they would get. I think I'm not confident enough that they would get a high enough grade for me to invest that money sending them to CGC to get graded. So oh, the Thor 134. Yeah, that was one. That was a good one. My Thor 134, first high evolutionary. That was one Silver Age that's like an absolute. So next time, if I ever send in books, whether it's the CGC or PGX or CBCS, if I ever send in books again, I'll probably do some Silver Age, and that book will be in there. Yeah, without a question. I never doubted that book being sent out. It was just a matter of not having enough Silver Age to make it worth it to go with that tier. Because yeah, if there wasn't tiers involved, then I can send in post 1975 and prior 1975 and not get hit with extra fees. That book would be in there, no doubt. Like I said, I think that's at least, that book's at least a 5.5, but I think even better than that. I absolutely do. Yeah, I think it could get a 6.0. So we'll see when I finally bring that in. So guys, let me bring up on screen something that I put together here. And we're going to run through these books. So I don't have them in any particular order, but they are in order to the list. So I'm going to show you the first book that I have here, and then we'll pull up the list and look at it. So the first book. Now, oh, wait, let me actually count. Let's count. Now, remember, it's got to be 8 books. I have more than 8. I believe I have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 6 of these books are staying home with me, and 8 of them are being shipped out to CGC. That rhymed. I didn't mean to do it, though. So, first book, All right. That first book is Avengers Annual number 10. First appearance of Rogue. Decent high grade, but it's got some blemishes. So let's pull up let me show off. Let's see. I don't want to take these out of the bag, guys. It would be great if I could take these out of the bag for you guys, but I want to minimize touching these, obviously, as much as I can before I send them out. I gave this book an 8.5, and I think that's probably generous. I'm probably going to give it a press. I showed off in my video yesterday morning. There is some, where are we here? There we go. There's a little bit of crinkle, like right here and here. I don't even know if you guys could see that. But yeah, there's a little bit going on. I think the edges are a little bit blended down, like slightly blended down. But I estimated an 8.5. If it got anything lower than an 8.0, I would be utterly heartbroken. I mean, it's clean, newsstand. You know, it's no color breaks. There's a couple spine ticks, but no color breaking spine ticks. But yeah, I mean, it looks to be looks like a little bit of foxing on the bottom corner there. And a little bit of a blentage on the outside corners, and then just a little bit of crinkling around the top, which I'm going to press again and try to get that out. So we'll see if another press will help out with that book. So I'm just going to run through these, and then I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet and go into the details. I got it all mapped out for you guys. So next up is New Mutants Annual number 2. First appearance of Psylocke as Psylocke. And I put this book down as a 9.0, and I honestly, I think I'm lowballing that. I think this book can definitely get more than a 9.0. I don't see any spine ticks. Maybe one that's not color breaking. Maybe a little bit of a ding down there at the bottom. Sharp corners. Oh, you know what? That's probably why I put 9.0. There is kind of similar to the Avengers Annual. There's some interesting crinkling going on right at the top here. But again, I never pressed this book. I gave the Avengers 10 a press, but I never pressed this book, so I'm hoping that can come out. Yeah, that's probably why I gave a 9.0. Shoot, with that, I mean, CGC, I mean, this might get an 8.5. If this got anything lower than an 8.5, I'd probably be unsatisfied. So moving on. Next is the first appearance of Psylocke in continuation. Now, this isn't a very valuable book, and we're going to go into all that. We're going to go into the values and everything and in the grades. What's going on, Michael? He says the Avengers Annual 10 is a must-send. I love this book. Jim Lee art. It's just, this is a book, and I put down, a 9.4 for this, and I think it could, I put down a 9.2. I think you could easily get a 9.4. This book is beautiful, even with the black. But it's just a book that I love, and I would love to have this at a high grade, encased and in a nice CGC, casing with a sweet label. But ultimately, the value of this book, this is probably one of the lowest value books on my list, even in a high grade. But we'll look into that. We got an X Factor number 6, one of the most underestimated books ever, underrated first appearances. First appearance of Apocalypse, and I put this book at a 9.4. I mean, it might even get better than that. I have 3 copies of this book. I think this is my best one. Now, I think this is going to be a no question. Wolverine number 1. I put this down as a 9.2. If this got back anything lower than a 9.0, I'd be devastated. I mean, it's got 2 spine ticks that aren't color breaking, sharp corners. Yeah, I mean, it's clean. I'll probably give this one more press too. This is an interesting one. It's been picking up heat. We'll talk about that when I bring up the spreadsheet. Spawn variant, 300 variant. ASM 300 cover swipe. Obviously, fresh out the press, I would hope that this book would get a 9.8. I'm scared about pressing it. I don't even, it's like, I don't know, with taking a brand new book and pressing it just to hope it gets a 9.8, or do you leave it be, right? We got my ASM 252. I put this book down as an 8.5. Newsstand. We'll just go through these a little quicker here. Marvel Team Up 141. I put down a 9.4. This book is clean. Secret Wars number 8. I put down an 8.5. I think that might be, man, this one worries me. Because again, if I got anything lower than an 8.0 on this, I'd be pissed. And there's two color breaking spine ticks that are small, and I think a little bit of blunting on the edges. Mike Sear says, is there a big price difference in grading? Can you be more specific with your question, Mike? I'm not too sure what you mean by that. We got Amazing Spider-Man number 299. I put an 8.5. Again, probably anything lower than an 8.0, I would be upset. There's a little yellowing, a little bit of yellowing on the white. You could tell a little bit of a spine roll, but I could probably press that out. It's not even like a spine roll. It's just you can feel that the pages were open. No color breaking spine ticks, but a couple of spine ticks. Sharp edges. I put an 8.5. That white cover, I don't know. Nova number 1. Nova number 1, picking up a lot of steam. I put this at a 7.0. There's some blemishing to the black on the top. Decent edges. The top is pretty crisp, but the bottom is blunted a little bit. There's some foxing and blending down here. Obviously, some spine ticks, a decent amount of color breaking spine ticks, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. I mean, they're not huge, but they're there. I put a 7.0. Man, I would hate to see this book get anything lower than a 7.0, honestly. 3 more. She-Hulk. Now, this is one that I'm really worried about because although it's a great book, and this is going to continue to gain value, I put it as a 6.0. I'm going to try to clean it a little bit. It's dingy, and it's got some crinkling around the edges here. The corners aren't sharp at all, and it's definitely got some color breaking spine ticks and some rounding on the spine as well. So we'll have to see about that. All right, 2 more, and then we'll get into the breakdown. We got Marvel Spotlight 32. I put this down as a 5.0, and I would really hate for this to get anything lower than a 5.0. We got some color blemishing on the black around the top. We got some color breaking creases right down there. You can see all that. Then we have what looks to be a manufacturer error that looks like a color breaking crease right here, but I think it's a manufacturer, so I don't know if that would take off too much. The spine is actually decent, except it's off-centered, and you could see the white, but the white is dingy. It's dirty, so I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit. I think there is some spine ticks, but because the white is rolling over from the back, because it's off-centered, it kind of counters being able to see those spine ticks, which is good. So I put a 5.0 on that. And lastly, we have Spider-Woman number 1. I put an 8.0, and this is honestly, when I bought this, I think the seller said like 9.0. But I'm looking at it now, and I'm gonna give it a press. There's some kind of crinkling around the top that I hope to get out. I mean, the black is decent, but with these black covers, man, I think there's a couple of little crinkles on the actual outside edge, and the spine is clean, actually. Yeah, no color breaking spine ticks. I don't even see any spine ticks with it in the Mylar. Maybe a little bit of rounding on top. I like I said, I put an 8.0 for this. I would hate to see it get anything lower than 8.0. So that's them, guys. So let's bring up this no DC. Yeah, I had a few DC books, but it's just they just didn't pan out. I don't have a lot of, well, actually, most of my DC stuff is, I mean, I have a lot of Wonder Woman. I could have did a Wonder Woman #1, the George Perez. Ooh, let me pull that out. Let's add one more. Let's pull that out just to see about maybe getting one DC book in here. I have the Death of Supergirl Crisis #7 and like high grade, black cover. I think that's it, like a 9.2 probably. That would be a good one too, huh? But this book has to be a 9 point. Wow, I don't know. A 9.2 at least. Maybe even a 9.4. Maybe more. I don't know. When it starts getting to the 9 points, that's where I start getting like, I don't know. It's tough. Unless they're like fresh off the shelves. So hey, I mean, I didn't do the breakdown. It's not going to be on my spreadsheet, but let's keep this in here. See if this gets some votes from you guys. Mike says, seems you got some nice books. What is the cost to get all those graded? Okay. You know, Batman, I collected Batman when I was young, and so a lot of my Batman books aren't in the best shape. I read through a lot of them. I do have the first appearance of Tim Drake and the first appearance of Jason Todd. I have Death in the Family, but it's like it would probably get like a 1.5. Yeah, it's bad. So my Batman, yeah, and then I for early Bronze Age and Silver Age, we're sticking with the post 1975. So to answer that question, Mike, you asked what's the cost. So I said in the beginning of the live stream, I'll say it again. There's 2 tiers. And I had to stick with 1 tier because if you send in books from 2 different tiers, those tiers being pre-1975, post-1975, you have to pay double shipping. And I was like, I'm not. It's just not worth it for me. I'd rather take that money and put it on a couple more books. So I decided to go with 1975 and up because you still get a good era of nice Bronze Age stuff. And then you can send in some modern stuff. And I'm not really big on pressing modern stuff, like really new stuff. But I did get that Spawn 300 in there because I don't know, it's just to get a 9.8 in that would be sweet. So the books are cheaper from that tier. They're $20 each. For the Silver Age tier, as long as they're under a $200 value, $27 or $28 each. I don't remember exactly, 27 or 28. So all right, guys, let's bring up this data. Okay, so here we are. We got a full-on breakdown here. And we're going to start with the top. Now, as you can see, I got all the way to the left. We have the title of the book and the issue number. The key factor, what makes it an option, to be wanting to send it to CGC. Why is it a key book? What's hot about it? We got my estimated grade. And again, I am no expert whatsoever. And then we have CBR fair market value. That's Comic Book Realms fair market value. We have Midtown's fair market value. Now, Midtown's fair market value, and I put the, quotations because this is their selling price, okay? Now, Midtown usually reflects solid selling prices that are equal to a lot of other sources' fair market values, including Overstreet, but I don't have access to current Overstreet stuff. I think my last Overstreet guide is from 2014, so I'm not even going to use that whatsoever. So I got Comic Book Realm, we got Midtown, and then we got a graded average. This graded average comes from Go Collect and Cover Price, okay? And it's an average of the specific grade, okay? Not an average of the book itself, and you're averaging out different grades, no, because that's an issue. That wouldn't be an accurate number. So let me get some water here. Lastly, we have a raw average too. Now, what I did with the raw average, again, I talked about Cover Price given a raw average, and that was inaccurate. This raw average that you see is not a raw average of sales of the book. It's a raw average of the 2 raw fair market values I have for that book in that specific grade. So when we look at Avengers Annual number 10, that raw average being $65, that's just the average of CBR's $70 and Midtown's $60. That's all that is, okay? Now, the last column there where it says trending, This is if it's trending up in the market, trending down in the market. Up is green, down is red, and staying equal, not going anywhere, up or down is yellow. Now, take this with a grain of salt because the trends are from day to day. So some of those reds could be a book that has been hot for a week and it dropped 0.01% in sales just today, or in price of sales. So take that with a grain of salt. Just because you see red there doesn't mean that this book is inherently, decreasing in value or just doing something crazy. That's not it. I think all of these books that I picked out are books that have great potential to continue to gain value for the long term. Okay. I don't think there's really any book that is based on pure speculation that's going to fade out with movie hype. Now, obviously, you take books like Nova #1. You take books like the Spider-Woman books right now, where there's speculative talk about them showing up in the MCU. Obviously, there is spec that's affecting value, but these are books that even if that speculation dips or pops, that value, that inherent value, is not going to drop below a certain threshold. And regardless of movie hype, those books are going to continue to gain value over time, regardless. So, with that being said, let's look at this first book, Avengers Annual #10. First appearance of Rogue. Now let's pull this book back out. What do I have there? So I have the book at an 8.5. And like I said, I don't know. The grade of this book that I estimated kind of scares me. It scares me because first off, I have talked about the inconsistency with CGC. I almost actually called them and asked for a refund for my annual subscription this year, but I decided, look, I'm not even going to deal with that. I've been seeing certain individuals having some pretty good consistency lately. Maybe it's because they're not overstressed right now, being that maybe a lot of people aren't sending in their books. They're not doing like cons and live gradings, and they have more staff willing to take more time to do thorough jobs. I don't know. Alice the Comic Hoarder has been sending books out the last couple of months and getting some pretty consistent stuff. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. But I still think that 8.5 for this book might be a little high. But like I said, I'm going to try to press it out. So CBR has this book at an 8.5 at $70. Okay. Midtown has a selling price at about $60 at an 8.5. Your average graded price is $70. So now that average graded price, one thing about this to take kind of with a grain of salt is that average graded price is taking the graded books that is sold in that grade, but going back to at least 2018. So that's over 2 years. It's 2.5 years, right? The values of these books, there could be an outlier where, maybe that average or that value of that book in early 2018, somebody sold a 8.5 for $30, right? And that one outlier kind of dips that average down. So, it could be a little high because we do see that graded average is right there with the average of the raw books, which is 65. So just a little bit more. So ultimately, if I'm spending $20 for it to get for the service itself, right? And then when you calculate shipping, and I don't know exact numbers, what it cost me, with insurance, you're probably looking at at least like $4 a book there. $4. Let's just say $30. You're spending $30 per book to get it graded. So if I'm spending $30 on this book, will it be worth it? Now you got to keep in mind what I paid for the book, or the inherent value that the book already has, and if matching those two things up is going to work. So so let me know what you guys think. Is this worth it? $30 to send it out to get shipped. We're betting on an 8.5, and I'm telling you, personally, I'm concerned with it getting an 8.5, at least right now before it's pressed. This book's even a little off-centered. You could see a little bit of the white coming over. I don't think CGC really knocks off for that. but having the white on the cover there, if it's not super clean, but it is pretty clean. I am worried about this little ruffling going on. Oops, sorry guys. I am worried about this ruffling going on top right here. But other than that, like I said, I mean, a couple like 2 spine ticks that don't color break, a little bit of foxing on the bottom, and a little bit of blendage on the edges. I don't think the edges are as sharp as they could be. I said an 8.5. So keep it or nix it. All right. Moving on. And again, guys, any feedback, leave it in the comments. If you think this should stay or go. Stay meaning stay with me and not get pressed or slabbed. Go meaning send it on its way, right? All right, guys. Next on the list, we have New Mutants Annual #2. First appearance of Betsy Braddock as Psylocke. I do have the 3rd appearance of Betsy Braddock as Betsy Braddock in Captain Britain, but I'm not sending that in because that's magazine size. I have this book down as a 9.0. I think it could possibly get better than that if I give it a press and get some of this crinkling out, because I've never pressed this book up. Now, at a 9.0, CBR has this book at $40. Midtown is selling this book at about a 9.0 at $60. And the graded average is 50. So it looks like Midtown's price is a little high. That could be considering maybe a 9.2 as well for them. You know, anything close to near mint minus. Now so the raw average is 50 and the graded average is 50. So if this book gets, so remember, we're paying $30 to ship this book out and get graded. And if it gets that 9.0, it's going to have a graded average value of $50. So is it worth it? That means that the book, if I paid $20 for this book, which I didn't, I don't even remember when I got this. I know I didn't pay $20 for it. Maybe more like 15, if I remember, some years back. But anyways, $50 average. Is it worth it? Now, again, this is one that if I give it a press, I think this might be able to get a little better than a 9.0. If this comes back a 9.2, there's a little more value. So Mike Sears says no to the first appearance of Psylocke. Newsstand as well. So we got one no on one book. All right, guys, moving on. Next up, we have X-Men 256, first Psylocke in continuity. And here's the thing. Here's where I'm coming from with this. I love this book. I love this book. And I'm not one. You got to remember. You got to take perspective of the collector. There's collectors out there that want to get any brand new book off the shelf, whether it's 2 months old or 2 years old, and try to send it. They'll spend the money, send it to CGC, trying to get that 9.8. They'll buy a brand new book that's not even really a key, that might be already slabbed in a 9.6. They'll crack it, pay to get it pressed, and then pay to ship it back to CGC, hoping to get a 9.8. That's not me. I think people that do that are crazy. I'm not knocking them, because I'm always one to say there's no right or wrong way to collect. People love doing that. And if that's what makes you happy, do it. If you have the money to do it, I envy you, because I would be taking that money and buying more books. That's not me. I don't really collect graded books, but I see the appeal in it, and that's why I enjoy sending a few books out. For me, it's more of the investment, really making it like this is a key book that it would ultimately be worth it. Even though I'm not selling or flipping my books, it's going to add to that value, especially long-term, whatever. But I also like the aesthetics. A lot of the collecting for me is aesthetics. I'm an artist. I love cover art. I love how books appeal in the Mylars and how they're stored a certain way for the aesthetics. And I love CGC's books and cases and how they look aesthetically. This is one book that I would love to send in specifically due to aesthetics. And let me break down the numbers here, because that might be all that it really is, at least to this point. Thomas, thanks for popping in, man. I appreciate that. So let's look at this. We have Uncanny X-Men 256. I got it down at a 9.2. I think it probably could get a little better than that even. I think it could definitely get a 9.0. It might even be able to get a 9.6. I've never pressed this book either. Raw, CBCS, $10. Midtown, $10. Graded average, $25. So we got an average raw at $10, graded average $25. So right there, I would already be spending $30, which is more than the graded average value to get this pressed out, or excuse me, to get this slab. So ultimately, if I went with this book, it would be merely as an aesthetic thing. I love Psylocke. She's my favorite X-Men. I love Jim Lee. He's one of my favorite artists. I love this cover. So the value isn't always monetary, right? So is the value of spending $30 worth it to get a book that you're ultimately overspending on just to get it in a nice, pretty slab? That's the question to ask. Mike says the cost to grade is too high for such a low cost book. And there you go. Very valid. He says, save your money. Trade all those for one rare, expensive book. All of these books that see, and that's, and again, I'm not knocking that. People do that, and that's great. Not me. I am a collector of books. I'm a collector of runs, and I'm a collector of books. I'm not one that'll sit here and say, well, I have 10 books that are worth, a good $500 or something like that, right? So I could sell those and get me a nice mid-grade copy of a Fantastic Four 49 or something like that for $500 or something, right? That's not me. I would save my money and spend my budgeted spending money on saving up for a key. Like, well, I have Fantastic Four 49 already, but I'm just using that as an example. I do not sell my books. I do not sell my books. The only time I might sell a book is if I randomly get a double, but I even enjoy keeping doubles. I like having multiples of some copies. So that's definitely not really my style. Joker 68, what's going on? Oh, I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I still got to send out your package. It's all shipped and ready to go. I just need to print the shipping label out. I have some other art commissions that I'm working on, and I try to send them out all together because I have to buy the postage all at once. So, but thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Hulk 181, man, that thing is I have a Hulk 180. But yeah, get my hands on a 181. I don't know. But again, I wouldn't trade as much as Hulk 1. I would not trade any of my books really for Hulk 181 unless it was like ridiculous. Unless somebody said, hey, like, give me something that's ridiculously not worth it. Like if somebody said, give me those 2 books for a Hulk 181. Oh, okay. But other than that, when it's like a fair market or a fair trade, I wouldn't do it. Simon, what's going on? Have you ever, okay, Simon says, and we're going to get back into these books, but let's take a minute to look at some of these comments. Simon says, hey, Chris, have you ever thought of slabbing the comics that you love and want to keep yourself with something like Gator Guard or Comic Skin? Okay, man, it's, when it comes to something like that, I haven't really considered it. It's the same with like top loaders. I have 2 top loaders in my collection, and I don't have books in them. They're literally sitting with my supplies. Not that I wouldn't want to put a book in them, but as much as I am an aesthetic type of person, and that's part of the reason why I collect, I weigh so many different things, right? And spending money on something like that, where it doesn't really do anything to the intrinsic value of the book, I think is ultimately a waste of money. At least with something like CGC or CBCS or even PGX, whatever grading company, at least there is some kind of recognizable certification, that allows it to potentially have a greater value, while being encased in this nice aesthetic looking plastic, right? With a nice label and it details the the details of the book, the artist, the key component of the book, the first appearance, whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, and I'm sure, when you talk about those things, Gator Garden Comics, and I'm not too familiar with the actual prices, but I'm sure that it's not going to cost $20 to $30 per book. But I think ultimately, if I'm budgeting $150 plus shipping, so if I'm budgeting about $200 a year for something like CGC or CBCS or whatever it may be, I think I'd probably stick with that than say budgeting $200 for something like Gator Guard or Comic Skin, even if I would be able to double or triple the amount of books I can put in them. So if that answers the question, that's how you get those expensive books. Mike, that's one way that you could get those expensive books. Now, obviously, you could be extremely wealthy, which I am not, and you could buy whatever you want, right? You could buy 5 Hulk 181s if you have the exposable income. But for me, it's all about budgeting. And I haven't been, financially stable to be able to buy like $1,000+ book all at once. I've been a starving student. I graduated last year raising kids. I've been working, and I've had a little more disposable income. I'll take tax return money and take a little bit of that and invest it in the comics. So that's how I got my Fantastic Four 49 this year. Although I think I got for an extremely good deal. You guys probably wouldn't believe what I paid for that book. So yeah, it's one way, being able to, get a certain amount of books, maybe smaller keys, bundle them up, sell them off, maybe get them clean and pressed and get them sent out to CGC, get them back, flip them, and take that lump sum and go buy a big key. That's one way of doing it, but it's not the only way. And it's definitely not the right or wrong way, because there really is no right or wrong way. I'll say that over and over again. Everyone collects the way they collect. I have over 16,000 comics in my collection. The books that have no value or are only 50-cent books or dollar books, I value almost just as much as I do these books. Every book is valuable to me. It means something. And that's just how I collect. So how do you think comic dealers, collectors get books like Detective Comics 27 and Action Comics 1? How do they get their hands on $1 million books? They trade. True, but again, I'm not a comic dealer. And that's, again, I don't mean to come off as kind of blunt with you, Mike, but I think you're speaking to one aspect, so ultimately I would encourage you to understand that you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's only one avenue. There's multiple avenues on how to do this. And that's not me. It's not me. 100%. I am not somebody that, personally, I have no intent on getting Detective Comics 27 or Action Comics #1 probably ever in my life, even if I end up getting a 6-figure job at some point and I'm wealthy to an extent. I don't see, honestly, even if I become a millionaire, I don't see myself buying $1 million book or even a $500,000 book. I don't. As much as I'm a collector and I love spending on myself, I would use that money to invest in community. I've always, that I went to school and I'm working at a school. I've coached youth basketball. I'm a musician, and my musician was always about like providing something for the youth. And I would rather take that money and invest it in like some teen centers or something like that within, impoverished or low income communities and things like that. So that's what I would do with a $500,000 or $1 million instead of buying a single book that costs that much. Isaac says, I got to be getting one of those custom labels for your CGC books. Those custom labels do look sweet, guys. So, okay. So I went through some of your guys' questions. Let's move on to actually, you don't buy those type of books, you trade. Again, Mike, I'm challenging you here. You got to watch your wording. You say you're being specific. Some people have the money to buy those books. I know it's rare. I know that, who know, people go to the bidding. Didn't they have an auction like recently where, and I can't imagine the people, not that I don't want to say the type of people, because that kind of seems like I'm labeling them, but how wealthy these people are that go to these auctions that'll bid like, $1 million on a freaking Superman #1 or something. But I mean, a lot of people do the trading for those books. Probably a lot of dealers, or very extreme successful LCSs like maybe Mile High Comics. But yeah, I'm not going there probably in my lifetime for sure. All right, what's the next book on the list, guys? We got X Factor #6. First appearance of Apocalypse. I think this is an extremely underrated book. I can't believe this is only like a $25, $30 book. So with that being said, let's look at this. I put it down as a 9.4. And ultimately, I've never pressed this book. I see like 1 or 2 spine ticks that aren't color breaking, and that's like it. Sharp corners. The black is shiny. No issues with the black. I put down a 9.4. So CBR has that at a $32. Midtown is selling a near mint at $75. So I don't know if that's a little bit bloated. I think that's what it's worth. Personally, I think it should be up there, but I think that might be a little bit bloated because if you look at the graded average, it's at 65. So I think Midtown is a little bloated on that. That bloats the raw average to over $50. But looking at that graded, and if this book does get a 9.4, you're looking at $65 average. Like I said, I mean, I would be, if this book got anything lower than a 9.2, I would be upset. I mean, again, this is a book that like it has value and it has the spec. I mean, we can spec on this book, with the X-Men coming over to the MCU, but I think this book I think this book should be more sought after. I really do. I love this book. I mean, Apocalypse is to me one of the best Marvel villains. So that's a good one to ponder there. All right, next up, what do we got? Next up, we got now Wolverine #1. I think this is a no question. I put this book down, Wolverine #1, as a 9.2. If it got anything lower than a 9.0, I'd be pissed. Again, like 1 spine tick that doesn't color break, maybe 2. Pretty sharp edges, man. If this doesn't get a 9.2, man, come on. I put down 80. Okay, we got $88 from CBR, 120 from Midtown. So again, that might be a little bloated because the graded average is 90. Raw average just over 100, but graded average is 90. And again, there might be some outliers there in that graded average from 2018 sale, where maybe this book has picked up steam over the last couple of years. So again, graded average being at 90. I think I paid $60 for this book, which I think for the time was kind of high. It was in a bid. It was a bidding auction on eBay. Like I said, I think for the time it was kind of high, but I think it's decent now. I would love to see this book get a 9.2. And although, if I spend $30 on it and I ultimately end up spending $90 for the 30 plus the 60 I paid, I may not be able to make money off of it if I sell it right now, but that's not my intent. This is a book that I think is going to be a very, very important book to have in the long term. And I think it's going to continue to gain value for sure. So I think that is a no-brainer. Without a doubt, that one is being sent in. Isaac says, I just bought my Detective Comics number 38, 6.0. Nice. Awesome, man. I hope to have at least a few low. I don't know if I have any 10-cent Detective Comics, only Batman. All right, guys. Next one on the list is Spawn 300, ASM 300 cover swipe variant. And I have 2 copies of this. So, hey, do I send them both in and hope for a 9.8 or 2 9.8s? And this is, I get it. I get that appeal that some people do that with the new books. That's not really me, but for some reason, I love this book. the cover swipes of ASM 300 are some of my favorite books. I'm not a big variant person. I don't go out there and spend 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 on variants. I did it once in my life. And that was a cover swipe. It was the Spawn #1. I think it was the unknown exclusive Mayhew variant. And I believe I paid what, $30 or $40 for it. Oh, you know what? I bought a Shattered variant as well. Shattered Comics variant of amazing cover. It was ASM 800, ASM 300 cover swipe. I bought that for $30. Those are the only two variants that I've spent like money on more than cover price. I'm not into that. Although with this cover swipe, I dig it. I dig it so much. Love Spawn. Love Todd McFarlane. This book already has been gaining value. Let's look at it. Now, this is an interesting thing here because I've seen this book going on eBay for more than this already. But you have a raw value for Spawn 300 CBR, $20. But Midtown is only selling it for $10 right now. But here's the thing. They were out. They had no more in stock, and it was still priced at $10. So I'm going to assume when they get more stock, that $10 is probably going to go up. So it just might be that it's outdated. Now check this out. This is a 9.8 though. A 9.8 graded average, $80. $80. So if I paid, I got two of these for undercover price at like $6 something. Because I get the $35 off when 35% off when I pre-order. If I get them slabbed, pay the $30 to get it slabbed up. And if I get a 9.8, I'm definitely increasing value. And I think this would be a great, I have my ASM 300 slab from CGC. I think this would be a great addition. But I don't know, you know, it is a modern book, but I think this is a pivotal modern book. Wes says, what's going on? What is up, Wes? Thanks for joining. We're just going through a yay or nay on these books. I've narrowed my books down for you guys just joining. I've narrowed my books down to the post 1975 and current tier to send out to CGC. I will be sending out 8 books. I have 14. We are looking at them in a very with a detailed analysis right now on trying to understand which 6 should be left home and which 8 should be shipped out. So, yeah, that Spawn one, man, that's a tough one. All right, moving on. Moving on, and you know what? I'm just noticing something on this book. Moving on, we got 252, and I'm noticing kind of not a crease, but kind of a warp. So I'm going to give this book a press. It's like it's not sitting flat at one area down here. But it's not a band or anything that color breaks. But ASM 252, an amazing, iconic book. And this book might be a no-brainer. Like, yeah, definitely. But we got to look at all the variables, right? So ASM 252, I'll put this book down as an 8.5. Now, I mean, the corners look decently sharp, but definitely some blunting. Newsstand. Spine ticks. There's a couple. Maybe like 3 or 4 minor color breaking ones. But I mean, it's pretty decent. A little bit of rounding or foxing at the top, but just a tiny, tiny bit. So I put down an 8.5. If this got anything lower than an 8.0, I would be extremely disappointed. I put an 8.5. CBR has an 8.5 at $75. Midtown has theirs at $60. Graded average is 80. So we got a raw average of 67. We got a graded average of 80. And that's if it gets an 8.5. And this would be a tough one, man. This is the range. And looking at this book, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I had my Fantastic Four 74 that I thought was a 9.0 come back as a 7.0, but it had about a half a dime size blemish on the back that looked like some kind of moisture damage, but there wasn't any texture to it. The texture was smooth. It was fine. It was just like a little tiny blop of discoloration. And there was no real, I mean, there wasn't anything on the grader note. So that CGC concerns me. You know, so when I'm saying an 8.5, man, if this comes back a 7.0 or 7.5, it's going to really hurt that. But is it worth it? Is it worth taking that chance? Yeah, I'm definitely going to give this one more a press. I can see it cleaning it up a little bit, getting it a little more flat. So I'm really tugging on that one. I have 2 copies of this. I have another one that's probably more like a 6.0. It's got a bit of a spine roll, a little bit of a more nasty spine on it. All right, this is a beauty. Now, if I knew that this book was as high grade as this next one, it would be a no-brainer for sure on that 252. But the grade of that 252 is the reason why I'm kind of hesitant to that. So now we got Marvel Team Up 141. I put this book down as a 9.0. So super glossy, super fresh, super clean, super sharp corners. I don't even see any spine ticks. Maybe one. Maybe 1 or 2. But that's it on this whole book. Maybe 1 or 2 spine ticks. So let's see what we got for Marvel Team Up 141. I put it down as a 9.4. Now remember, we're in this range where if I'm wrong and it comes back at 9.0, that's a big decrease. And a 9.4, we got CBR at 50. We got Midtown at 55. And we got graded average at that grade, $100. So we got about a $50 raw, $100 graded average. The high grade on this, if I could get that high grade, that makes it seem really worth it. Mike says no. Mike, was that to which one? Was that to ASM 252 or Marvel Team Up 141? Oh, you say nice Marvel Team Up. So Mike, can you clarify if that was a no to the 252? While we're waiting on Mike to give me a clarification there, we got no. So Mike says no to ASM 252. I'm assuming you are like me and you're being cautious of the grade itself. You might think it might be hit with a bit of a lower grade. Yeah, I think that book, you know, as much as it's a great book, I think you really want to have that high grade in that book. I think anything lower than an 8.0 just isn't worth it. And like I said, I mean, I put it at 8.5, but I'm worried about it. I am going to give it another press, see what happens. But yeah. Now, even though it's a more sought after book than the Marvel Team Up, when you really look at how crisp and clean that Marvel Team Up is, that's where it's like, okay, you know, just looking at the book itself, 252 is more desirable, but in the grade itself, Marvel Team Up might be the way to go. But carrying on the trend here, we have Secret Wars number 8. This book is kind of in between. I do think it's a little better than the 252. It's not as sharp as the Marvel Team Up. I think there's a little tiny bit of blunting on the corners. But and then there's 2 spine ticks that are semi-color breaking. A little bit of blunting, maybe a little bit of rounding down here. So let's look at what we put this as. So I have this book at an 8.5 as well. I put this book as an 8.5, but I do think it's a little better than the ASM 252. So that either means I'm probably giving my 252 too high, or maybe I'm giving my Secret Wars too low, or maybe I'm just wrong completely on both. But Secret Wars number 8 and an 8.5, we're looking at $62 from CBR, $100 from Midtown, which I think is a little bloated again, and $80 graded average. So actually, for the Secret Wars 8, you're in that grade, you're looking at a similar value as the 252, but it just comes down to which one would get the higher grade. And ultimately, like I said, I think there's a couple more spine ticks on the 252. I think the top edge on 252, top corner, is a little sharper though. I think there's a little more rounding down here on the 252. So ultimately, I do think this 252 might be at least just a half grade lower than this. So if I'm off on this at an 8.5 and it comes back at 8.0, this might indeed come back at 7.5 or even less. So again, I am not an expert. Isaac agrees. Do not send in the 252. And then Mike says, I would always assume these graders will undergrade all your comics. They will be likely very conservative. You know, I thought about that too, Mike. I think I agree with you there. And in my experience, that's what I got. I don't want to rant about CGC right now. That's not what this is about. But I will speak briefly to it. I do think that CGC is probably the most strictest out of all the grading companies. And I'll just say briefly without getting too much into it. I do think that there is inconsistency. And that's why we don't have as much transparency as we should. I think that there's a lot of reasons why sometimes books might get higher grades than they should at certain times, but I'm not going to get into that. But ultimately, right. You know, I think if you can easily put a book between an 8.0 and a 9.0, you're probably going to get that 8.0. You know, then next would be the 8.5 and last would probably be the 9.0. Except for other reasons that I'm not even going to talk about right now. What do you think the comics combined are worth? Oh, well, you know what? I should have did. Let me get back to that, Mike. Okay, let's move on. We got what? 4 more books, 5 more books. Let's move on, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Jim, how's it going, Jim? He says it's hard to tell on your phone. I hear you. I hear you, Jim. All right. After you submit ebooks in, after you submit the books in, and they come back to you, are you going to be? Absolutely, I'll be doing an unboxing, Isaac. So, all right, let's get these wrapped up, and then I'll go into a few things, and answer some more questions. All right, we got next up, carrying on the black suit tradition here, theme, $2.99, SF $2.99, newsstand, cameo. I believe it's the first full appearance of Venom. That's for another day, another video. ASM $2.99, cameo of Venom. This book is in really nice shape, but it's a white cover, and that worries me. So, as I said, there is a little bit of yellowing close to the spine here. The spine is pretty darn clean, though. I don't see any real spine ticks. The corners are sharp. I think there might be a little ding, a little bit of a ding on the bottom corner there. Maybe on the edge. Ah, that edge looks pretty neat. The thing that worries me, though, is a little bit of yellowing right here. I mean, if there wasn't yellowing right there, I probably put, well, let's see what I put the book at. I forget. What did I put this book at? I put it at 8.5. If there wasn't the yellowing, I probably would have put it at a 9.0. I mean, I could be lowballing this one. I think I am kind of, in my opinion, I might be lowballing this one. But let's look at 8.5 for $2.99. We got CBR at 54, but then we got Midtown at 110. And again, they were all out. This book was not in stock. So I do think the 54 is a little low. I think this book has been picking up a lot of steam, but I think the 110 is a little bloated. So when we look at the raw average of 80, around 80, 82, I think that's a little bit more accurate. But the graded average is still at 80. And again, this is a book that probably has some lower sales and some higher sales because it's been, the last couple of years, it's been picking up steam. So we got about an $80 average graded value and an 8.5. I definitely think this book can get an 8.5. If it got anything less than an 8.5, I'd be mad. So Mike says, if it worries you, I think you already answered. You know, it worries me, though, in a sense of it getting as high of a grade as I think it's worthy. Because if I wasn't looking at that, like I said, if I looked at this book, I might even say this book could be a 9.2. So it worries me that it wouldn't get a 9.0 or above. But with that being said, in the condition it's in, if it's at an 8.5, but I don't know, you're right, Mike. I mean, again, we look at like CGC can be extremely hard. Like if my Fantastic 74 was indeed overall a 9.0 minus that little smaller of a dime size discoloration on the back cover. If that was the only thing that dropped it to a 7.0, then that shows you that CGC can be extremely strict about things. So what if they're that same way about the little bit of yellowing? What if they're like, well, if that yellowing wasn't there, it would be a 9.0, be a 9.2, but because it's there, we're going to give you a 7.5. I'd be like, wow, that's ridiculous. And then I would be upset. Brick Gaming, what's going on? We say, is the yellowing serious or is it more an off-white? That's a good question. That's a good question. I wish you guys could see this better. But, you know, the lighting in the room gives off its own yellowish lighting. So, you know, I don't even, you can't even kind of tell like the white of the book because you guys are getting kind of a yellowy, kind of a sunset haze just from the camera, right? So you don't have a lot of natural light on the book to see the yellowing, but I mean, it's not like, it's definitely, you can just tell it's like just like inside pages where they start going off white. That's what it looks like. You know, it doesn't look horrible like an old polyethylene bag that's yellowed and it's yellowing your board to that extreme. It is definitely more of an off-white. But what's interesting is it's not the whole cover. It's just really on the spine. I'm wondering if somebody actually had it in an old bag with a nasty board for a long time and it just started to seep through. I'm actually going to open this up real quick, but I'm going to get through the rest of these books. I just want to look at this back. So it's a black back, so you can't tell. I was going to see if it's a white back, if you can see the discoloration on the other side, but it's black. So that's questionable. That is questionable for sure. All right, guys, we got 4 more books, and next up, we got some Bronze Age goodies here. We got Nova #1, and this book is hot right now. It is fiery hot. I think it's going to keep going. As I said before, a little bit of a, you know, kind of color wear to the black on top. It's got a good amount of spine ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe. And a little bit of kink in the corner, but I could try to press that out. And then some foxing on the bottom. Some blunting and rounding of the corner down there. The top one's actually decently sharp. So let's look at what I got here for this. My Nova #1, I put down as a 7.0. And I think that's kind of my threshold for this. If this got lower than a 7.0, I'd probably be upset. All right, 7.0, we're looking at $70 from CBR. Midtown at $45, and again, they didn't have any. This may be that they just haven't updated their inventory and they haven't updated their price. Because I definitely think even in a 7.0, this book is going for definitely more than $45 right now. But we still have an average graded value of 65. And again, that could be outliers from a couple years back. I think a 7.0 graded is definitely going to get closer to $80 to $100 right now for sure. Because it's hot. It's been a top mover the last few weeks. I don't think it's been at #1, but it's been in the top 10 over the last few weeks, is in total units sold week to week. So it's a hot book. But, you know, just looking at this, I mean, we're still looking at what I say, a $65 value. I think that's lowballing it. This would definitely be a long-term. Sports Bro says, love that book. Definitely. It likely will come in lower than a 7.0. Mike is definitely the voice of conservatism. on these grades when it comes to them. But again, it's like, I think to Mike's credit, it's better to be to lowball and be cautious and conservative than to expect high and come back and be extremely disappointed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I did lowball it. My 7.0 is a lowball. You know, I think when I originally looked at this book, I was like, man, this might be able to get a 7.5, but then I don't know, all those spine ticks. It's the spine ticks that worry me on this book in the black cover. But I am going to give it a press. We'll see what it looks like coming out of the press. All right, guys. Here's another one that's a silver, Bronze Age goodie, but it is the grade that concerns me. She-Hulk #1. This was a reader copy from when I was a kid, and it tells. The white has some dinge. I am going to try to clean it up a bit. I don't know if you guys can see, like, there's just, you know, it's got that grainy dinge just with dirt. It's got a couple of crinkles along the edges there. Rounded edges. I mean, not horribly rounded. Round enough. Spine ticks. Rounded at the bottom right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At least 10 spine ticks. So it's definitely not a high grade. Let's see what I got. Shield #1, 6.0. I got me a 6.0. I think initially I was thinking a little higher, and I lowballed this as well. So looking at a 6.0, we got 38 from CBR, 28 from Midtown, and a 75 graded average. So again, at 6.0 was a low ball. I'd hate to see this go any lower than a 5.5. Any lower than that, I just don't think it's worth it. I think with pressing, CGC might give you a 7, but their grading can be strict, so maybe a 6-ish, right? Yeah, and that's for the Nova, right? Yeah. And then Mike says, don't be disappointed. Exactly. See, and that's what I was just saying. It's best to lowball and not be extremely disappointed. But, you know, I mean, for me, you know, when I sent my first set in last year, first time ever sent in the CGC, I got my cat 109, the origin cat. I thought it was a 9.0 white cover, came back a 9.2. I thought my second appearance of Punisher ASM 135, I thought it was going to be 8.5, 9.0. It came back a 9.0. And then I thought my ASM 31 was going to come back a 4.5, and it came back a 5.5. But then the two that I thought were like extremely questionable was obviously the Fantastic 474, and also my Thor 134 that came back a 4.5. I thought that was a 6.5. I thought that book was not accurate at all, and that's a whole nother argument. I understand maybe going down to a 5.5, even a 5.0. I thought 4.5 was way too low for that book, and I think that's a situation of where we need more consistency from them. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. Jim loves it. Was that the She-Hulk? Katie says, I got a book signed by Stan Lee a couple years ago at the Calgary Comic Con. How does the grading work? I have a signature authentic. Okay. Yeah, you know, that's all. I haven't ever dealt with the signature, but it's all there on their website. It's its own tier, and you just have to note all that and supply them with all of the proper details and paperwork. Jim says, I recently bought a Primo She-Hulk 40. Nice. Sports Bro says, kind of random question, but if I'm sending a book to get signed at the CGC signing, does the cost include grading? Ooh, that's a question that I cannot answer. I have not dealt. We had 2 signature questions here. That's something I've not dealt with. Honestly, I don't like signatures on my book. Would I pass one up from someone like Stan Lee? Obviously not. I've gotten some books signed by Ron Lim. I have a Rob Liefeld Youngbloods #2 signed. First appearance of Shadowhawk and Prophet. Got to get number 1 for sure, for sure. Okay. All right, guys, 2 books left. Let's move on here. Next book is Marvel Spotlight 32, first appearance of Spider-Woman. This is graded or not, guys, grab this book. There's some spec on it right now, but you could still grab it for a decent price. I think this book is going to definitely go up. I mean, it's been going up. It's going to keep going up. I think we're going to see her in the MCU soon. Yeah, so let's look at this book. I mean, it's definitely a mid-grade. It's got some color breaking creases down there. It's got what I think is a manufacturing defect that looks like a color breaking crease going straight across. Top corner has a couple color breaking creases. A little bit of dinging on the top. Spine, I said the spine is actually decent. You got the off-centered white coming on, and I think that hides any spine ticks. It's a little dingy and dirty, though. And, of course, some color breaking and rounding around the edges. So let's look at what I got for this book. Marvel Spotlight 32. I got a 5.0 coming in at 28 from CBR, 45 from Midtown, and a $55 average graded at a 5.0. And I think for this book, a 4.5 would be my threshold, but this is another one where it's like, man, that 5.0 really makes it sweet. That would really make it sweet, right, solid center mark. And again, I mean, I think this is a worthy book, but it's all about the grade. It's not just the book, it's also the grade. And that's where I'm kind of riding the fence with that one. These books are in Mylar, all of them except for the Spawn 300. Isaac says lower grade, but a key issue, exactly. I mean, this is one Bronze Age book that is, you know, like I said, I mean, I think, like we just said, average at even a 5.0 is, what do we say, around $50 right now, $55. But I think that's going up here month to month, and this book is going to keep gaining steam. So I don't know, even in that grade, it's one to consider. All right, guys, last book, and then we'll shut it down. We'll go over some key factors, and then I'll take some questions, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening. But oh yeah, this book is Spider-Woman number 1. So we have first appearance. Now we got Spider-Woman number 1. This one is definitely a higher grade. The black is decently beautiful. Decently beautiful. We got a little bit of kind of ding, ding, ding on top here. The corners are decently sharp, but probably a little bit of blunting. The spine is beautiful. I don't see any spine ticks, color breaking or none. I'd have to pull it out of the Mylar bag to confirm. Maybe a little bit of rounding around the corners. Let's see what we got this as. So I put this book down as an 8.0. Wow. So I am lowballing this because I'm looking at this and I'm like, man. But yeah, you know, with the black cover and the little bit of blending around the sharp edges and the spine edges, that's why I put an 8.0. I think anything lower than an 8.0 would suck. I'd be okay with the 7.5. I'd be able to live with myself. I mean, honestly, I mean, this could possibly get a 9.0. No spine ticks. Yeah, so that's tough. That's tough. All right, there it is. Oh, yeah, no, let's see what we got. Spider-Woman at 8.0, $35 for CBR Midtown. I couldn't find it on the website. Graded average is only at $40 right now. And again, I think this is another book that's been going up a little bit, and I think that might have some older outliers from, say, 2018. That may be bringing that book down a little bit. But again, you know, we always want to look at long term, right? And then, guys, remember, I didn't crunch numbers, but I think it was Mike that said no DC, and I pulled out this beautiful Wonder Woman number 1, George Perez. And this is a beautiful high grade book. And again, just from eyeballing it in the cover, I'd say at least a 9.0. Maybe even higher, maybe a 9.2, maybe with the press, a 9.4. So I just kind of threw that in here just to get some DC love. So, guys, we went over. Guys, what does it mean? 6, well, actually 7, counting the Wonder Woman. 7 books have to go. 7 books have to go. So I'm gonna start out by doing this. This book is an automatic. So there's 1. We need 8. Wolverine #1 is being sent off to CGC. So round of applause. Woo! Go Wolverine #1. I hope you get a 9.2 or higher. 9.0 would be okay. So there's our first book. 1 down, 7 to go. And what I'm going to do here is we are going to go ahead and where's Wolverine #1? I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. Let's see if we can. Let's make this. What color should we make it? We're going to make it blue for CGC blue label. Let's find a nice blue. I guess this is a good blue. Or should we go? Ooh, there we go. Boom. That's a blue label. CGC blue right there. Boom. All right. So we got Wolverine. Good to go. Let's go to some comments and see what we got going on. Okay, Jim was saying still in the 9s. Which book were you referring to, Jim? Isaac says Spider-Woman #1 looks like a higher grade. Yeah. Well, it's a higher grade than the Marvel Spotlight, but obviously her first appearance is more valuable, more sought after. There are the little bit of dings on the top that might get out with the press, but you guys can't really see that on camera. But I mean, remember when I bought this, the seller said it was a 9.0, but hey, I always take what the sellers are saying with a grain of salt, right? Brick Game says I'd say at least an 8.0. Was that for the Spider-Woman #1? Jim says I think your numbers are right, but it's hard to buy online for that. I agree. Well, let's hope I'm decently in the game. So, all right, guys, we got the list on screen. I'll await some feedback. Yay, nay. Which ones should stay with me in a happy home, and which one should be shipped out to go? Let me know any on this list that you guys feel is an absolute no or an absolute yes. I know that we had one absolute yes for first appearance of Rogue, Avengers #1, which I put at an 8.5. I'd be happy with an 8.0. Anything lower than that would break. Okay, so Brick Gaming was saying at least an 8.0 for that Spider-Woman #1. Yeah. Absolutely. Man, this honestly, guys, it's tough. I mean, let's see if there's any. I don't know. Let me let you guys know when I'm. I also have two near mint copies of Uncanny X-Men Annual number 14, first cameo of Gambit. I have two of those, and I didn't even add that in here. I don't know if we got any Gambit fans in here. I just don't think that book's ready. I don't know about this one, guys. This is the one that I think I want to nix. I just think with the white background, I still am going to clean it and give it a press. I just think with the white background and knowing that I've had this since a kid and was a reading copy, it's just, even though I said 6.0, I don't know if it could get that. And I would like to have at least a higher. I mean, I would like to have like a 7.0 in this at least graded. And I just don't know if it's going to get it. So I think I'm gonna say no to this one and just hold on to her. If anyone has any oh, I got a bug on me. Oh, it's all live, nothing edited out. There was a bug on me. I don't know what it was, but that just added to the fun of my video. There it is. It's a water beetle. I'm gonna get him, guys. I'm gonna get him. It's funny. So what happened was, so I live in the valley, right? I would have watched this on replay. If somebody does YouTube and you guys like edit videos, like watch it go viral. Take this clip, do it in slow motion, and then have me doing the oh, you know how they do that? Like, and watch it go viral. That's a water bug beetle. We live near fields because I live next to a fairgrounds, right? And they're just out there like crazy. And when it gets warm, which has been getting warm, they come out. And I sprayed outside today, and they're like coming in now. Oh man, that was funny as hell. Okay, I'm good, guys. All right, was it a spider? Honestly, I don't get bugged out about spiders really, unless it's freaking Black Widows, man. And I just killed a Black Widow yesterday. But we have like fuzzy jumping spiders. I love them. And Daddy Longlegs, like I don't really kill spiders either. I'll take them outside. Okay. Where were we? I was saying peace to the She-Hulk. Maybe I'll upgrade She-Hulk at some point in time. So we're gonna go ahead, bring this bad boy back up, and we're gonna black out She-Hulk. I was saying if anyone had any, that's what I was saying. If anyone had any final words in favor of She-Hulk, let it be known. So I'm gonna red She-Hulk out. You are not being shipped off. All right, now what had happened before I got interrupted by this peskery little bug? Isaac says, I definitely know you're not sending your oh, do you? I don't know. We shall see, Isaac. I say no. Do not send She-Hulk number 1. Okay, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I would save them all and trade them for an expensive comic. Well, see, Mike, when it comes to the most valuable, that's the thing. It all comes down to grade as well. A lot of these, like if I'm wrong, one grade point could send the value of that book down. So there could be books that are similar range, and if I choose one or the other, and maybe the one I didn't choose ended up having a higher grade, which would have ended up putting it at a higher value. So it's tough to gauge that. Obviously, the books like the Uncanny X-Men 256, though, that's probably one of the lowest value ones here, even in a near mint. So I get that. But again, remember, this is comic book collecting is unique to the individual, and everyone does their own thing. And as much as I'm taking in your guys' opinion, I am still my own collector, and I have to weigh my preferences with that as well. So there's so many variables. That's what it comes down to. And I'm definitely not one for trading, but I definitely appreciate you providing your speed back. Mike was saying, was it a spider? Yeah, but I just talked about that. Call Spider-Man a Spider-Woman. Or called a blue beetle. All right. Isaac says, it's that time of year for spiders. Spiders too. Yeah, I killed I killed a black widow yesterday. And then I haven't driven my truck in like a week. Right? And I went into my truck and there was a black widow spider web in my truck. That's not where the one was that I killed. That one was in the shed. Anyways, enough about bugs. Back to books, guys. So, do we have any takers? Are you guys sold on any for sure? Let's take a poll. I want to bring up, so we're going to bring up the Black Suits, okay, guys? The Black Suit trilogy, okay? We got ASM 252, Secret Wars number 8, and we got, wait, I'm all mixed up. Marvel Team Up 141, okay? Now, I think the grades go like this. I think the highest grade is this one, which, what did I put down? Like a 9.4, 9.2, 9.4. Next in line, we have the Secret Wars, which I put as a 8.5. And then Amazing Spider-Man 252 at an 8.5, but I don't know. I might be highballing that one. So you could say, well, even though some of them may be lower grades, keep them all. Send them all in. Have the trilogy all graded. But I don't know if we would nix one, keep one, nix two. Out of these, which one should go? And again, I think ultimately this book is the least valuable, but it's the highest grade. So it might be more valuable than what these are in the grades that they're in. Ultimately, I think these two books have similar value right now. And I think they're in decently similar grades, although I do think the Secret Wars is a little high. I think it's like a point, half a grade higher, in my opinion. Anthony, what's going on? He says, send in the Avengers Annual, X Factor 6, the Secret Wars 8. Who cares about the grade? It's all about loving what you have. Well, I will say we care about the grade, but I will add that, yes, it is also about loving what you have. So it's a combination of both. It's not who cares. It's we care about the grade, but we also care about this, this, and this. So that's a good point, Anthony, and I thank you for sharing that because ultimately it does come down. So like if you think, you know, if I think about these three books, right? I mean, ultimately, I think I would rather personally slap these two just because I'm a bigger fan of these. Excuse me. I keep doing that. I'm backwards. I think I would grab these two and want to slab these before I do this one. But this one is in such a high grade. It has such more appeal, right? So it's tough when you take into consideration all the variables. Isis, let's say you should send in your Secret Wars number 8, even if it comes back a little bit lower grade. At least you have it graded. Yeah. I think you guys are right. I think we are. Isaac, you called it a little while back. I think we're going to hold off on Amazing Spider-Man 252. Yep. I mean, now here's what I could do. Mike, you're going to like this. You're going to like this, Mike. I have two of these books, right? I have this one that I'm saying is about an 8.5, and I have one that's probably more like a 6.0, somewhere around there. And maybe I could trade both of these in and get a higher grade and get like a 9.2, 9.4 of 252. There you go. What do you think about that? That's one thing I'd be willing to trade for. Two of the same books and get one book of that same book at a higher grade. Possibility. So we're going to say goodbye to 252. We are going to read out ASM 252. Where are you? Sorry to see you go, but that's the name of the game. All right, guys. Let's see what we got. Katie says, I got Secret Wars number 8 at a garage sale 2 years ago for $1. I love it, man. I am still waiting on my estate sale, garage sale find, man. I've heard so many stories, and it's just like, man, I need to have my day. Mike, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you joining in and supplying much needed feedback and thoughts. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, that 252, man. I want to get a high grade of that for sure. All right, guys. I'm looking at now my Spider Woman. I think it's really going to come down to one of these. I don't think I'm going to send in both of these books. So you have a conundrum here. You have the book. You have the book that is the better key. It's the first appearance, right? Or you have a book that is a number one, but is in a higher value, or excuse me, a higher grade. So do you get the better key in a lower grade, or a level down key in a higher grade? That is the question. Anybody have thoughts on which one should go? And again, I think both of these books are great books to have right now. A lot of speculation on them. Yeah, ultimately, man. I mean, we think about 4.5, 5.0 Marvel Spotlight, or an 8.0 to a 8.5, 9.0 Spider Woman number one. Brian says, what are the grades? I think I just kind of answered that. That was my estimate. You know, we could bring up the list here and look at both of them. And for my Spider Woman number one, I estimated low at an 8.0. I'm going to give it another press. And I estimated a 5.0 for my Marvel Spotlight 32. But with the color breaking creases it has, I mean, I just think CGC might just go all crazy on me and knock it down even lower than a 5.0. And I would hate that to happen. All right, guys, I think I am going to make an ultimatum here, an ultimate decision. I am going to press up this book one more time. I'm going to go with Avengers Annual number 10, First Rogue, for sure. This bad boy is getting sent out. I think I estimated, let's see, I estimated an 8.0 on that, 8.5, and I'm going to give it a press. And I hope that it doesn't get anything lower than an 8.0. But I hope this press can help it. So we are going to blue label it. Avengers Annual number 10. Let's give it that nice blue label. Boom. All right, guys. We knocked 2 out. We got 2 in. And it looks like Katie is saying go with Spider Woman number 1. She probably loves that Marvel Spotlight 32. But she is thinking about the higher grade. A lot more pop in the black and just better eye appeal. Taking that into consideration for sure. Brian says, I would go with the Spider Woman number 1 because I have been looking at prices for 32 and you can still get a 7.5 per sheet. Absolutely. And I've been telling people that. Didn't I just do a video saying that the top 2 spec books, affordable spec books right now, and it was this guy, Nova number 1 and Marvel Spotlight 32, and you could still get them at a decent price for a decent high mid grade, you know. Yeah, I mean, for Spider Woman number 1, I mean, you could probably get a decent 7.0, 7.5 for under $100 still. Absolutely, but I think that's going to be changing here over the next year. So we got 2 votes in for Spider Woman number 1, and I was thinking about sending Spider Woman number 1 in last year as well. All right, guys. So we still got Amazing Spider-Man 299. Has a little bit of the off-white and yellowing on the spine. We still got the most modern Spawn number 300 ASM 300 cover swipe. We still got First Apocalypse. We still got First Psylocke in continuity, and first Psylocke. Now, I definitely think that, I definitely think my Nova #1 is going to go above any modern book. So that means, because of what we have left, that's going to put Nova automatically in the yes category. So Nova, you are headed out to CGC, but not before I give him a press, because I said he's got that ding in that corner there, and I need to try to get that out. And what did I put it, Nova? I think I said like 7.5, 7.0. I really hope it doesn't get anything lower than a 7.0, but I'm willing to risk it. This is a book I'm willing to risk it on. This is a book that I think is going to gain value. So Nova #1, you are headed to Disneyland. Just kidding. CGC. Let's blue label you up. Nova #1. So we got 3 in, 2 out, and 5 to choose. All right. Now remember, there's still the runner-up, or the random throw-in of the Wonder Woman #1. That, without pulling it out of the bag, I see a couple little non-color breaking spine ticks, sharp edges, amazingly sharp edges. This book has to be at least a 9.0. I could see it getting up to a 9.4. I've never pressed this book even. So we have that one DC book here. I do have my 2 copies of Uncanny X-Men Annual #14, first cameo of Gambit that I didn't even pull into here. I have a Death of Supergirl. I believe it's a Crisis #7. That's in near mint. I didn't bring that in here. I stuck with Marvel, except for my Spawn book. So, all right, guys. Okay, let's see. Let's look at some comments here. Isaac says, no, sending your Marvel Spotlight #32. Kabuki, what? Isaac, I don't know what sending. Oh, I think you meant to say send in your Marvels. No. So I think Isaac is disagreeing. We got 2 for Spider-Woman #1. Isaac says, man, the key book all the way, even with the lower grade. And Isaac is still rooting for Amazing Spider-Man 299. Yeah, I think that book will look amazing in a case, absolutely. But that yellowing concerns me. Okay, Titus, hello from Japan again. Isaac does say he thinks I should send in the Wonder Woman #1. Yeah, man, I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking about it. My only slabs that I have in my collection are Marvel books. So, all right, guys. Man, so we got the battle. We have 5 more to go, right? We got the battle of a higher grade Spider-Woman #1 and a lower mid-grade first appearance of Spider-Woman in Marvel Spotlight 32. We got that battle going on. So one of those is going to be a winner. Then we're down to 4. We have the battle between the black suit. We got the extremely high grade Marvel Team Up 141 that I think can get at least a 9.2, maybe a 9.4, and maybe an 8.5, 8.0, 8.5 Secret Wars. I'm still going to give it a press. So that'll be 2 out of 5. Then we'll have 3 left. The Mastodon, what's going on? Appreciate you stopping by. You have to go to CGC, DC, Gray Book. Got to show some DC love. I hear you. So we got a battle between the Spider-Womans. We got a battle between the black suit Spider-Mans. And then I think we have 3 books left. So I say it's fair. I say it's fair to have a battle between the X-Men, Psylocke, first appearance. Psylocke first appearance in continuity. high grade. Both of these are in high. All of these are in high grade, actually. Or X Factor #1, first appearance of Apocalypse. So I think that it's going to be one of those for sure. And looking at those again, those are all high grades. What do I have down? 252 is a 9.2. X Factor 6 is a 9.4. New Mutants might be the lowest one at a 9.0. But the value of the New Mutants one is right of Psylocke's first appearance is right there with X Factor #6, but I think it's going to get a slightly lower grade maybe. Bert Gaiman says I'd vote Spider Woman #1. So Spider Woman #1 has 3 votes now. He says Secret Wars, even though it's a lower grade. Brian says X Factor #1 for sure. All right, guys, you know what? I think even as much as, here's the thing, and we talked about this earlier in the stream, grading, why people grade is different for everyone. We got, graders that only want that 9.6, 9.8. They'll submit anything. We got graders that just want to submit keys. I really love this book because it's one of my favorite artists. It's one of my favorite characters, and it is a high grade. I don't see why this book couldn't get a 9.4. But you know what? As much as I would love to spend money on it just to get it encapsulated, I think we're going to have to say maybe next time. So, Psylocke, I love you. But at least for your first cover appearance, first in continuity, we got to give you the red. We got to X you out. So let's bring you in. We are going to X you out. Where are you? Uncanny. Sorry to see you go. Boom. All right, guys. The last battle. You guys may think it's a no-brainer, but not for me. Spawn 300, ASM 300 cover swipe to go with my beautiful ASM 300 slab, or ASM 299 to go with my ASM 300 slab. I have this down as probably hopefully a 9.8, fresh off the shelves, off the press. Obviously, I have 2 issues. I don't even know if I want to give it a press, leave it as is. I'll pick the best one to go. Or a decently high grade that I have, I think, at an 8.5, but the yellowing around the spine. Couple spine ticks, rounding of the edge down here. I would really hate for CGC to be hard on this book and get it anything lower than an 8.0. If this book gets anything lower than an 8.0, I would be devastated and I would feel like it wasn't worth it. So, interesting combination here. Or it's either that or we don't send in Wonder Woman #1. So we're down to nixing one of these or sending in both of these and nixing Wonder Woman #1, the only DC book in the lot. Let's see. We got some votes in. Brick Gaming, you said X Factor. I think you're saying send in the X Factor, right? We do have a vote for New Mutants. We do have a vote for Psylocke's first appearance. Isaac's still riding the 299 hype. I will go with Spawn 300. You might find a 299 at a garage sale. Possibly. Like I said, I'm waiting on my day, man. Well, right now, I don't know if anyone's having garage sales, but maybe people are liquidating their stuff online because people need money. Let me get some water. So we're wrapping down here, guys. Where's my water? I need some water. We are wrapping down here. Hopefully, we'll be able to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes. Yeah. Brian says, might find a better copy of 299. But again, remember, for me, it's not all about just getting a book that has that 9.8. I mean, that's the only modern book that I have in here. You know, only new, fresh book. Just because, I mean, I think it's definitely iconic, and I love the cover swipes of Spawn. Excuse me, of ASM 300 for sure. Comics Most Wanted, what's going on? You're rooting for the 299, huh? Even man, and again, I hate that you guys can't see it on screen because the lighting in this that you guys are getting is a very you know, mellow yellow lighting, and you're not able to see the yellowing. You really can't see the yellowing on camera. It's got a little bit of a spine roll, which I could try to press out a little bit. It's got a couple spine ticks, and it's got some real rounding on that edge down there. The top one's pretty sharp. So I don't know. Like I said, if CGC wants to be a-holes and wants to be tyrants about yellowing, it's really gonna kill me. It really is. Super Joe says, send nothing to CGC unless you want to take the chance of them ruining the books and not taking responsibility. Send to CBCS if you need to grade. Okay, Super Joe. Tell it like this, man. I'm with you in so many ways. I hope you know that. I don't know how familiar you are with my channel. I've done multiple videos in the last couple of months talking about the issues with CGC. Okay, I have. So ultimately, my heart is with you. Now, I don't believe that CBCS is clear of any issues as well. Honestly, I think PGX has the best track record. I really do. I think PGX, when we talk about the service, I think PGX is where to go, period. Service-wise. I have my issues with CGC, and that's not what this particular stream is about. This is what it is. I did my first annual subscription last year. I was happy with a couple. I was extremely questionable of a couple. And there's been a lot that's transpired over the last year that makes me really question CGC. I want transparency from CGC. I want the industry to change. I want the consumers to demand transparency, not just from CGC, but from these third-party companies that claim to be experts, professionals, right? But with that said, I got the automatic renewal. I was going to call and I was going to cancel it and be like, look, I'm going to pull out. Can you give me my money back? Can you refund me my money? But I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to stick with it this year, and we're just going to see how it goes. So ultimately, I'm sticking with it. I think right now I've seen a lot more consistency than I've seen in a while with CGC, and I think it's because they're focusing on their in-house grading. There's not a lot of people sending in grading. They're not doing cons. They have a lot more staff on hand to where they can be thorough. So I'm hoping for the best. But I share your sentiments, Joe. And I definitely would like to continue that discussion in more live streams and more videos, and I will be in the future for sure. So I hope you stick with my channel and look out for those in the near future. Shelf Wonder Woman, says Simon. Simon, why? Why do you feel like Shelf Wonder Woman? Now keep in mind, I pulled out Wonder Woman in this live stream. I didn't have any DC. I love Wonder Woman. She's my favorite DC character. I would love to pick your brain more and let me know why. For gaming, okay, so we're getting some love for $2.99. Even with the yellowing. He says, don't forget, I still want to see the video of the Flash collection. Both 300 is nice because they're both milestones and it's the same artist. But if you are just doing it for value, you should go with ASM 299. Here's the thing, though. Let's pull this up. The average graded value for a slab of Spawn 300 right now is $80. The average for the 299 and what I estimated to be a 8.5, which I think might be high end, I think that book can easily get an 8.0 and maybe even lower with CGC. But at 8.5, the average is $50. So right now, even just 6 months after its release, 6 or 7 months after Spawn 300's release, it's gained so much steam that it is bringing in $30 more on average than your ASM 299 in my estimated condition, and I think I highballed that condition. So it is tough for me. And keep in mind, my variables here are ultimate value, inherent value added to the book, and total value, right? Long-term value and longevity, and what we feel like the book's going to do in the market long-term. Can a book like Spawn 300 hold that price, or is it more of a bloated variant spec price right now in the market where it's a bubble and it's going to pop? Whereas 299 is obviously, even in the condition, whether it's a 7.5 or an 8.5, it's going to continue to gradually gain value over the years. And then the other variable, though, is what it means to me, right? There is that variable of just these books. That's why I picked the Uncanny X-Men 256 for Psylocke on cover and in continuity, even because it's only like a $10, $15 book. I love the artist, and I love the character, and I love the book. So it would be cool to have it encapsulated in a slab. So those are all the things that I look at, and that's why I'm really battling ASM 299 right now in Spawn. And you also got to keep in mind, I have a threshold, and I think I'm taking more of a risk. Now, I'm hoping that the Spawn would get a 9.8. I don't know. It could get a 9.6. It can even get a 9.4. We've seen brand new books get 9.4s. But I'm really taking a risk with grade in trying to keep it above that threshold with the ASM 299. I estimate an 8.5. It can easily get an 8.0. I would be pissed, but I wouldn't doubt that CGC could send that book back to me as a 7.0 if they wanted to. And that rubs me the wrong way that CGC could be so extreme with that, but I just think they can look at that yellowing and the few, the extreme rounding of this bottom edge here, in the few spine ticks, and just say, oh, that yellowing, that's a 7.0. And if this book comes back at 7.0, to me, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it whatsoever. So that's why I'm still kind of on the fence. Jeff says, hello, what is going on? The market could change, the Spawn 300 value could drop. Exactly. So that's what I was talking about. Is it a bubble? Honestly, though, I mean, I think the bubble on Spawn 300 could drop some, but I think it's a modern book that will hold value and gain over the long run. But we're talking about 10, 20 plus years into the future, right? I don't know what the print count was for this variant, but the precedent set by 300 issues of Spawn for that character, yeah, it's definitely going to be a valuable book. But I mean, is it going to hit a threshold? Is it going to drop a little when the bubble pops and hit a threshold to where it doesn't drop below that? Only time will tell. We shall see. Just spent Spider-Man first black suit to CGC last week. Nice. Brian says, I would still go with Spawn 300 because it's McFarlane cover, swiping his own cover. It is usually other artists swiping his cover, which just has a cool factor to it. I hear you. Definitely. Absolutely. So, man, guys, so we're going to go back. We're going to go back to, because I want to wrap up here probably in about 7 minutes. We're going to go back to first appearance of Spider-Woman. It may be a 5.0. Or Spider-Woman number 1, it may be an 8.0, 8.5. Oh, this is tough. This is so tough. In the voting, Spider-Man number 1 was winning. And ultimately, I think I'm going to have to go with Spider-Woman number 1. I am. So, unfortunately, I think this is one of those situations. This book is a situation where, because it's already a mid-grade, a lower mid-grade, like it might be a 5.0 with all the color breaks in it. This book is going to gain value. Both of these books are going to gain value. And this book is going to gain value to where when you look at resale and return on investment, and not that I am flipping these books, but I always keep this in the back of my head and it helps me make my decisions. If I wanted to sell this book, right, and I get it graded and it comes back a 4.0 or even a 3.5 because CGC wants to be freaking tyrants, right? But I could go on eBay and sell it raw and say, I think this book is a 5.0, 5.5. I may still be able to sell it for more money raw, stating it at a 5 to 5.5 than having a chance of it being slabbed by CGC and coming back so low. So I'm going to hold on to this book. We're going to X that out. It breaks my heart, but I just think it's the right thing to do right now. So we're going to X out Marvel Spotlight. And we are going to... I'm trying to exit out. Trying to color it in. Oh, why isn't it working? Oh, man. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. And we are going to give Spider-Woman number 1 the CGC blue label. So there it is, guys. There's our lineup so far. So we have Avengers Annual number 1, number 10, first row. We got Wolverine number 1, first solo issue. We got Nova number 1, first solo issue. And Spider-Woman number 1, first solo issue as being sent out to CGC. We're halfway there. Living on a prayer. All right, guys. The debate still stands between Black Suit. We got a Marvel team up. 141 that's most likely a 9.2 or a 9.4. Or we got a Secret Wars number 8 that might be as low as an 8.0. I don't know. I would hate it for it to be that low. I want an 8.5 at least. Or we keep both of these and we say goodbye to Amazing Spider-Man 299 or Wonder Woman number 1 or Spawn 300 or the last of the X-Men books. That is the question. Katie's moving into my own house with my husband and daughter, and I'm getting my own common room. Sweet. I can't do. I hope you make a video. I don't know if you do YouTube, Katie. No, always go with the first appearance. Number ones really don't do too much. I tell you, I normally agree. But I don't know if you were here earlier, but they're both black covers, right? And the black cover on the Spider-Man number 1 is super nice. The black on this book is just worn. It's really worn. And my thing is, and this isn't even a Silver Age book. If I get lower than a 4.5 on this book, it really defeats the purpose. It does. And that's why I said, I know ultimately this is a better book than a Spider-Woman number 1. But I did the same analysis with my Fantastic 449. Okay, so my Fantastic 449, I think could be a 4.5. But knowing CGC, that book can easily get a 3.0 if they wanted to. I think if I give it a press, it could be as high as a 5.0. I know the value of that book would sell higher as a raw 5.0 than a graded CGC 3.0. And that's the chance that you take. So some people, obviously you want to send books into CGC so they can get a larger, so they can increase their ultimate value. There's those chances, though, that you take where you're sending in a book and it's actually going to decrease the value. And it's all because of the subjectivity and the objectivity of what somebody says yes or no. That's the grade of this book. And I can have a better shot at having a raw book like Fantastic Four 49, stating it as a 5.0, sell for close to $400, probably $400. Excuse me, 5.0, right? Then getting a CGC book at a 3.0 and maybe selling it for $300. So I can ultimately lose out on $100 depending on what CGC wants to do that day. I think this book is in that same category. I think, and again, I'm not selling my books. I'm not. So I could ultimately get this pressed up just to have this key book, first appearance, slab. But ultimately, I think I'm taking a chance of it actually losing value by putting it in a slab. So I know it's a tough decision for me, and that's kind of like where my head's at. Isaac, you're still riding with 299 and New Mutants #2. Katie, I'm gonna check you out, Katie. I might be subscribed to you already, but if not, I'm gonna check you out when I leave here. Black suit all day, every day, says Simon. So yeah, man, we got. Well, I already nixed my 252. I already said no to my 252 that I estimated would be maybe a 8.0, 8.5, but could get lower than that knowing CGC. So I was thinking, do I send in the trilogy? But I don't know. I was saying I do have two of these books. My other one's probably more like a 6.0. And I may be able to sell both of these and get a higher grade and get a book that's at least a 9.0, 9.2 maybe. And this and then get that one graded. But I definitely want to send at least one of these in. And ultimately, I think I'm going to make a decision here, guys, and say I'm sending in Secret Wars #8. Do I have Wonder Woman #7? Is that of the George Perez run, the Volume 2 run, Brian? Simon's rooting for the trilogy, man. Well, we're putting out Secret Wars #8 for sure. Classic Mike Zeck. I mean, the cover's iconic. And it might get a little bit of a lower grade than I hope, but ultimately, I think that's one that I want graded. So we're going to go ahead and bring up the list. We're going to give Secret Wars #8 the blue CGC blue label. Boom. All right, guys, we're getting there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 3 more to go. Man. We still got an X-Men. We still got First Apocalypse, which I think is one of the most underrated books in history. And we still got my favorite X-Men first appearance of Psylocke. It sucks that she's not on the cover. I think this book would have a lot more value if she was actually on the cover. He's on the cover and this doesn't. I don't know what they did there. So, man, again, both extremely high grades. I think the X Factor would be a slightly higher grade. Oh. Let's see what we got. Wonder Woman #2, 2 issues #2, #3, #4, #5, #6. Voila. Brian, is this the issue you are talking about? It's in an ugly poly bag. Wonder Woman #7. And looking at this book, There's one spine tick. There's a few spine ticks. Not color breaking. Really sharp edges. Bottom might have a little bit of ding. So okay. So what? Now I'm assuming, because I know cheetah has been around since the golden age, right? So this is and I'm not familiar with this. Modern Minerva's the modern cheetah, and 9 she becomes cheetah. Aha! Bam! So these books are definitely high grade. A couple spine ticks on this too. I bought these books from A1 Comics. Maybe what? I don't know, 5 years ago, for $4 each. And probably even less than that, because I was probably there at a sale. I might have gotten them for $2 each, 50% off sale. Nice. I love her being on that cover. Can't wait for this movie to come out. Man, now you guys got me going. You got me going, because you got me bringing in change ups here and curveballs. Yep. Yep. She'll be in the new movie. Absolutely. So we got 3. I'm putting them up here. We got 3 books. I haven't checked the value on those, and that's the thing. I might have to check the value on those. Man. So trade it. Mike's back with the trades. Oh man. All right. So we got 5, right? I'm so bent between Psylocke and X Factor, guys, but you know what? I'm gonna have to go with X Factor number 6, first appearance of Apocalypse. Like I said, I think it's such an underrated book. I have like 3 copies or 2 copies of this. I think this is my best one. I'll double check to make sure. I'm gonna send this book because it's just I love this villain. And I think in the future this book is definitely gonna gain some steam. I hope they do him justice to show up in the MCU for sure. So this is the one I'm picking. I think the value between this and the first Psylocke are decently similar. I think this one is a little bit higher grade. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to pull this guy up, and we're going to give X Factor number 6 the CGC blue label. Boom. And now we are down to 2. Actually, let's look at that list. So far, we got Avengers Annual number 10, first Rogue, X Factor number 6, first Apocalypse, Wolverine number 1, first solo issue, Secret Wars number 8, Origin of the Black Suit, Nova number 1, first solo issue, Spider-Woman number 1, first solo issue. We have canned Uncanny X-Men number 256, first Psylocke, first cover, and first appearance of her in continuity. We've canned ASM 252, first Black Suit. We've canned She-Hulk number 1, first solo issue, and Marvel Spotlight 32, first Spider-Woman. Mike asks, who's my favorite comic character? My favorite of all time is Spider-Man. Absolutely. That's why when I didn't pick the tiers yet, a lot of Silver Age Spidey and Goblin books. Second and third appearance, the 122, 39, first for me to cover. I love Spidey. But overall, for DC, Wonder Woman is my favorite DC character. X-Men is my favorite superhero group of all time. Cap is my number 2 Marvel character. I have a whole entire run of Captain America Volume 1 as well. Oh, Brick Gaming says Wonder Woman 7 at very fine raw, 30 to 40 bucks. Nice. Man, shoot. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's got a couple of, like, maybe 3 spine ticks, sharp corners. I mean, this has to be at least a 9.0, maybe even more. So shoot, man. I'm really loving the thought of just having a Wonder Woman in this set though. At least one. Thank you for looking into that. I really appreciate that. Jeff says, send oh, you sent Amazing 101 reprint to get graded. You know what? Hey, absolutely. I'm not even hating that you sent in a reprint because that's such an awesome book. And I know the reprint itself is like 30 years old almost. I think they did the reprint in 92 with the silver cover. And yeah, that book alone in a high grade is going for $40 to $60 right now. Obviously the first printing is soaring, but I think that's awesome. If it's high grade, I think if it, was anything lower than an 8.5, I might not have done it, but if it's higher than that, I say good pick, man, for sure. Mike wants to know who's everyone's favorite characters are. All right, guys, we're down to 3 more books. We have a Spawn book. We have the last 2 Black Suit books. Cameo of Venom. And now we got some Wonder Woman action. So ultimately, yeah, as much as I like having Cheetah on the cover, it seems like the first appearance obviously is going for more, which seems that this, I do believe then this book is calling for a little higher value than even issue number 1. So if we can look here, I'm going to pull up Comic Book Realm because I have that right on my phone here. We're going to pull up Wonder Woman Volume 2. Wonder Woman Volume 2. Wonder Woman. Did I do it right? I don't think I searched right. Wonder Woman. Search. Seriously? It brings up all kind of weird crap. Come on, man. Where's the plano? There it is. There we go. Volume 2, Wonder Woman. Let's look at number 1. Yep. So $20 in the high grade. Yep. So ultimately number 7 would be more worth it than even number 1. So I am so happy to know that. That is awesome. Comments was one that said that She-Hulk's about to blow up in a minute. Yeah, so this book is, I'm going to clean it. I will say this. I had this book as a 6.0. I've had it since I was a kid. It's been ran through, and the white is dinged. It's got crinkles. It's got crinkling around the edge here. Spine ticks, color breaking spine ticks. Blended and worn corners. I think a 6.0 would be a gift. I am going to clean it. But again, it's just one of those situations, where it's like these books, like the Marvel Spotlight 32, She-Hulk number 1, they would be no-brainers. I mean, not only are they great keys, there's speculation on them right now with the She-Hulk show, with speculation of Spider-Woman showing up in the MCU soon. But the grade, it's just a grade. This is a book that if this book goes below a 5.0, which you never know, again, with CGC, I'd be extremely upset and it would be not worth it. So it's another one of those similar situations. I do want to clean it. Hey, if I clean this book and I look at it and I'm like, you know what? I really did a difference, but I'm not a big old professional cleaner and whatnot. But we'll see. I've never pressed it before either. That might be one that I might bring back. But yeah. All right, what do we got? What do we got? Let's see. Okay, so all right, guys. I think I'm going to make a decision here. I think I'm going to make a decision. I am going to send in my Spawn 300. I am. It means something to me. It's something that I would just enjoy to have. You know, this isn't about value or if this book is just a bubble right now and it's going to pop or whatever. I love this. It's you know, when I did my video for top 20 Spider-Man covers of all time, ASM 300 was number 1. If I was to do a top covers of all time of any comic book, I think ASM 300 would be in the top 5. Maybe even maybe the top 3, but top 5 for sure. This is something, and this has a chance to get a 9.8. I don't think any of these other books are going to get a 9.8. Some could come maybe close with a 9.4 or 9.6, but we know that 9.8 is that breaking point. It's just that it's that mile high status. I have 2 issues. I'm going to look both of them over thoroughly, and this is just something for me. It's not really about the value. I don't have any modern books slab. I'm not really into variants in modern books like that, but I think for me, it would just be fun to have in my collection. So we are going to give Spawn 300 the blue label. CGC. Blue label. So we're going to bring this up. CGC blue label, Spawn number 300. Boom. And then there was 3 left. Well, technically more because we have the Wonder Woman. But there's 2 to choose. So again, we got 2 Spider-Mans. We got the team up. We got Venom cameo, $2.99 with the yellow wing. And we have Wonder Woman. You know what? I think we're going to go. I'm going to set all the Wonder Womans aside except for number 7. I guess first modern age cheetah. A near minty condition. So Brian says you should get at least 1. Vito, pick Spawn 300 is a good choice. Thank you. A 9.8 is a great thing. Yes, it is. All right, guys. So we got 2 left. So that means either Wonder Woman can join in on the party, or we can leave Wonder Woman home with me, and we can send both Spider-Mans off. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to break this down a little bit more here. If I knew that these were more of about the same grade, I would ditch this one in a second, and I would be going with the $2.99. But I'm really scared of this yellowing. I'm gonna take it out, guys. I'm gonna take this out and see if I can have you guys see this. I'm gonna take the tape off the back. I should have put painter's tape on this anyways. I've been switching over to painter's tape on all of my books almost, especially my keys. We're going to take this out. It's kind of warm in here. I need to get the air on. I don't like my books being in this warm in the heat. It got hot today. So let's see if we can look at this book together, guys. Man. Yeah, look, you know what? Man, looking at it out of the bag, shoot. I don't think that bottom corner is as rounded as I thought. Let's see if we could see this. And I want to get it focused close in here. All right, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. There we go. Okay. See that? Not bad down there. I thought it was a little more ding, but it looks pretty sharp. The top one, nice and sharp, right? Edge is nice and sharp. It sits pretty flat. You can see a little bit, like just barely. I could feel it like a little bit where it's not perfectly flat, but I mean, hey, the spine is beautiful. Maybe one, maybe two tiny little spine ticks. A little bit of wearing though, like you could see that down there. And then let's see if I know, like I said, the lighting, but let's see. Can you guys tell that this is yellowed right here? I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's what worries me. Man, I don't know. Looking at this, what did I say for this book? I said an 8.5. Okay. Cancel out the yellowing. Cancel out the yellowing. And sorry guys. And I ultimately think that this book is much better than an 8.5. If you take away the yellowing, oh, let's look at the back. Let's look at the back. Oh, see, this is probably why I said 8.5. I don't know why. Yep. Remember, you got to look at the whole book. There is a little bit of a crease. You guys see that? Look at that. Boom. And that's a black back. Yep. There's a couple dings at the top back cover. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to give this a press. I mean, still, even with that ding, I mean, this could get a 9.0 without the yellowing, but I don't want that yellowing to knock it down, man. All right, guys, what do you think? ASM 299 or what I believe to be a 9.2 or 9.4 super glossy Marvel team up, or do we take out one of the books? Yep, I'm sorry, I wouldn't replace any of the books that I got. So it's got to be one of those. It's got to be one of those. Comics Most Wanted says, well, you know, we should be kind of biased towards the Marvel team up. 141 is Art Adams is the cover artist. Nice. Yeah. I mean, you know what? One thing about that cover too is I love purple and I love circles. I love circles in the background of covers like ASM 300. So man, that's tough. It's tough. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and make a decision here. And thank you to you guys for pointing out. It was Brian, right? I think Brian is the one that let me know. I'm going to send this book in. We got Movie Hype coming out. First Modern Cheetah. And it's minty fresh, man. Like I said, I mean, this book has to get at least a 9.0, 9.2. Maybe even higher. I'm going to take it out of the bag later and give that a press. So Wonder Woman number 7, you are on your way to CGC. And I can't blue label it on the chart because I didn't add it to the chart. But that leaves one left. And we have the 2 black suit Spider-Man's first cameo, or Now, the thing with this book that just gets me is that I believe this came a month after 252, if I'm correct, something like that, a month or two. And then later that year, Secret Wars 8 came out, and it's technically the origin, right? Even though it's like the first time we see it, it's technically the first time it shows up, but we saw it later to continuity. So it's just like, what is this book? What is this book? It's not the first appearance. It's not the origin. It's just an early appearance. So what is it that makes this book sought after? And as of right now, it's really interesting that all the Trinity books hold decent value in high grade. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's crazy. So it comes down to those two, or I'm willing to take some feedback. If anyone says, throw one of those back. Now remember, these are lower grade. Throw one of those back in. We got what I think is maybe a 6.0 at best of a She-Hulk #1. We got maybe a 5.0 Marvel Spotlight 32. And we have maybe an 8.0 Amazing Spider-Man 252, the real first appearance of the black suit. So, cool cover. Mike says it's a cool cover with a great artist. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I am, guys, I stayed on a half hour longer than I wanted to. This stream has been going on for a long time. I appreciate everyone hanging with me. I am going to wrap this up in the next 3.5 minutes and counting. I appreciate everyone's feedback. You guys have been awesome. James was saying Wonder Woman #7, the movie's going to be a hit. I'm really looking forward to that movie, man. I mean, Wonder Woman, the first one, was such a shining light in the DCEU mess. I enjoyed Aquaman. Besides the initial intro, those first 10, that intro scene, that it was so corny, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie is gonna be garbage. Like where they were on the submarine and stuff, and Aquaman comes, I was like, this is so corny. Like, what was that line that they made him say? Oh my gosh! But once that stopped and they got into the movie, I was impressed with Aquaman. I was very impressed, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Not as much as Wonder Woman, though. Brian says, I would go with She-Hulk if you have sentimental value. Nah. Nah. If it was sentimental value, even though that's like a key book, right? And it's going to get hot, being that it's in low grade, I probably would slab this more, even though this is like a $10 book. So that's my interesting take on that. If I was to go with the She-Hulk, I think it would be more of basing on the fact that it's going to gain value and I can hopefully get a higher grade than I think with it. Isaac asks, have you ever used the comic book collecting app Key Collectors? Is that the same company that does CLZ? Mike is still saying he's still going out. He's not giving up. Trade them all in to get Silver Age Spider-Man. I'm good. My Silver Age Spider-Man is pretty hefty. It's pretty decent. I don't have a lot. I don't have my earliest one is 17. Second Green Goblin. Then I got 21 first Beetle, 23 second Green Goblin. I got all the Mary Jane cameos. First Norman Osborn, issues. I got issues 38 through 42. I don't have 50, the first Kingpin. I have the first Kingpin cover 51. First Gwen Stacy 31. Simon is saying go with the higher grade. Go with the higher grade. All right, Simon. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm sending it in. I'm sending it in, guys. We are giving Marvel Team Up the CGC blue label. You are headed to Disneyland. Boom. Oh, and I think I X New Mutants Annual number 2. We're going to give that the red mark. So what do we got? Let's count them up real quick, guys. We got Avengers Annual number 10, X Factor number 6, Wolverine number 1, Spawn 300, Marvel Team Up 141, Secret Wars number 8, Nova number 1, and Spider-Woman number 1. That's our 8, guys, but we have 1 book left. All right, guys, I'm going to throw another curveball. Before we go, I'm going to say, screw it. I'm going to spend $20 more and send in 1 more book. I'm going to send in 1 more book, and I'm going to let you guys help me decide. Now, we have Amazing Spider-Man $2.99 that I have out of the bag right here to show you guys. Remember, I just showed it off. We have X-Men, first Psylocke in continuity, first cover. Here, let me pull this up. The She-Hulk, low mid-grade probably. I doubt it would get a 6.0, but I hope it would. Low mid-grade Spider-Woman, maybe a 5.0, or Marvel Spotlight. I don't know if this would get a good enough grade. ASM 252. New Mutants Annual number 2 for Psylocke. So that's it. 1 book. 1 more book I am adding. Or Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7. Which I am going to grab. I'm throwing you guys for a curveball. I know it's in here. It's got to be in here. Here it is. Boom. Probably at least a 9.2. At least. Crisp, black, sharp edges. Boom. I just had to throw some more DC love in here. I'm sending 1 more. Simon says purple cover is going to look dope. Yes. Brian, I will go with the sentimental one for the last one just to slab it. Man, Brian, you're really speaking to me today, man. I hear you. Simon says black suit all day. So what does that mean? Does that mean 252 or 299 Venom cameo? Now, remember, guys, I have two copies. Where is it? I have 2 copies. Let me see if it's right here. Of course, it's not right here. Nope. It's not right here. Anyways, I have 2 copies of 252. Now, I'm wondering if it would be worth it for me to wait and really try to sell both of my copies. Like I said, if I was to sell this book, I'd sit it at a 9.0. I would stay at a 9.0. I mean, I was hoping for an 8.5. If it got anything lower than an 8.0, I'd be pissed. But I'd probably stated that I think I'd press it, say it's a 9.0, and try to sell this. And then I have another one that's probably like a 6.0. I could probably give that a press to say it's a 6.5. The spine is kind of a mess. It has a bit of a spine roll. You know, I could probably get maybe what, I don't know, at least $25 for that, hopefully in that condition with the press. And then I don't know, I'd have to look to see what a 9.0 will go for. Maybe that would be enough to boost it up to getting one that's like for sure a a 9.2, or even getting a graded 8.5 or 9.0 of this book. Because remember, now let's pull this up real quick here. What did I say? So an 8.5, 252 average right now, graded book, $80. I think I can absolutely. Then I don't have to send anything to CGC. I think I can absolutely sell this book in a 6.0 of this issue and get more than $80 and try to get an 8.5 CGC. Isaac is talking about an unboxing. I will absolutely be doing an unboxing when I get my CGC books back. The New Mutants Annual 2, because of the rarity, never really seen it. Wait and send them all. Sell them all. It's funny, for those that weren't here earlier on, I had to really break down. Mike was talking about selling them all, flipping for a bigger book. I was saying that's some people, it's not me. So it's funny. It's just funny because he's sticking to it. Question: what are your thoughts on Justice League New Frontier? Are you talking about the cartoon? All right, guys, this is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for Robert to respond to see if he can clarify that. I think I'm gonna leave it at this, guys. I have an extra book that I'm gonna pick, and I appreciate all your guys' feedback. Being that I'm sending in Team Up 141 and Secret Wars number 8. It really is making me want to send in my 252. But I'm really thinking about possibly selling. I'll send these out, see what grades those get. And, maybe then I can sell both of my raw ASM 252s and get a graded 8.5 or higher of 252. I think that might be something that could really work for me. So I'm really, man, once I pulled my 299, ASM 299 out of the bag, it really had me thinking, man, I mean, shoot. I would love, what would be nice? I have an 8.5 ASM 300. If I can get an 8.5 on this 299, I would love to pick that one. But then I'm still really thinking about, the Marvel Spotlight 32, and that just being a first appearance of Spider-Woman. And like Comics Most Wanted was saying, he's like, you got to go with the first appearance, even though it's low grade. I'm like, man. So I really think I'm going to do some research on 252. See about maybe doing some flipping just to get that same book back already graded. I'm looking at my 299 and I'm really thinking about Marvel Spotlight 32. So I think it's going to be probably between those three books. If there's a fourth book, I might still ponder. It will be probably the Uncanny X-Men 256, just because one of my favorite artists and Jim Lee, and my favorite X-Men character Psylocke. So we'll see. So before I head out, let me just respond to a couple comments. Brian says I would still go with the sentimental one, since you're already thinking of getting a better copy of the Black Spidey. Yeah, for sure. Isaac says if you're sending in your Secret Wars number 8, might as well send your 252. Right, unless I can flip and get an already graded one in a decent similar grade. Oh, the comic, a blend of the Golden Age. Okay. Yeah, no, I know they did a cartoon series on the New Frontier. And I know it was throwback. A blend of Golden Age, GC Comics, and The Incredibles. U.S. government doesn't want the Justice League to be heroes in the 1950s. Yeah, I don't think I have any of those books. I have a lot of Justice League stuff, but I don't think I have any of that. But I think I have some of the cartoon on DVD because I remember watching it with my son a long time ago. But that sounds like I really like the idea that they're getting at about not wanting the team to be superheroes. So, all right, guys, if there's any last questions, let me know. I got a couple minutes. Isaac asks, who do you think will win a fight between Spectre and Dr. Manhattan? No one. I think it would result in utter chaos that would destroy the fabric of the universe. That's my answer to that, Dr. Manhattan. Yeah. I don't know. I think something cataclysmic might come out of that. So, man, all right, guys. I really enjoyed coming on here tonight. I want to say that I do have my I have my Friday night show tomorrow on the Comic Book Canon YouTube. Go check me and my co-host Jeff out over there. It's going to be an awesome show. A lot of big and crazy news that came out this week that we're going to be discussing. So that's at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will try to be doing my pre-show live at 4 p.m. Pacific time before the show tomorrow on my channel. But for those that are not subscribed to the Comic Book Canon YouTube, I'm going to drop a link here real quick before I log off. Boom, there's the link, and there it is. So go check out that link. Go give us a sub over at Comic Book Canon. We're going to have an awesome show tomorrow. Like I said, a lot of good things happening in the news today. Other than that, thank you guys so much. This was fun. I really appreciate it. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but you guys stuck with me and really helped me get some good decisions in today. I appreciate you guys so much. So look for me at 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow for my pre-show live. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, guys. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter at journos_comics.com, just like in my tag below on the screen there. So thank you, guys. I really appreciate you all. Isaac, Simon, Comics Most Wanted, Brian, all you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Be safe. Be well. Till next time.